Kia ora. John Winter's Supermarket Sleuth here with you again. And this week, we're going to look a little bit ahead to next month when the Commerce Commission will be giving us its final report on the supermarket industry in New Zealand. Now, this is a biggie. This is going to affect us all. And what is going to happen? There are two sides to the supermarket industry, as we know, that the big two, the duopoly. So the easy side is, of course, Woolworths New Zealand Group, because that's a corporate and they own all their stores. But they also have the franchise side of it, which is Fresh Choice and Super Value. But Countdown is the biggie. Now, what we've heard and what is suggested is that the Commerce Commission will be looking at asking or expecting and making, not asking, but making both sides of the supermarket industry sell off some of their stores, because they've got so many stores, and the only way competitors are going to come into the business is if there are stores available to start off with. Now, Woolworths New Zealand, they, of course, own their stores, so it's not a biggie for them to sell those stores. That's quite simple. So the other side, the other side is the franchises, Fresh Choice and Super Value. Now, I'm picking that they will force them to sell those franchises. Now, the stores themselves are owner-operators, so that means all they're going to do is change from having one boss, which is Woolworths New Zealand, who make the money out of those stores over and above what the owners themselves earn. And how do they do that? Well, of course, it's franchises. So the owners have to pay for the services the franchise Woolworths New Zealand Group provides for them, like promotions and all that sort of thing. So therefore, if the franchises are sold, there's the two groups: Fresh Choice, which is generally a top-up store. There are some larger Fresh Choices. Geraldine comes into mind straight away, and those will be of more interest to a buyer coming in possibly from overseas. The Super Values are more general, smaller stores. They're more like a Foursquare, much smaller indeed, and top-up stores, and not so great. So there are two sides to that. Maybe someone will come in and want to buy both, or I'm suspecting that maybe one company will go for the Fresh Choices and another one will go for the Super Value. So that takes care of that. How many Super Values? 40 in the country, and the number of Fresh Choices in the 30s. But again, they're not equivalent, many of them, to, say, a New World. They're, in fact, more like a Foursquare, many of them. So that's that side of the business. Now, the other side, now this is the interesting one, because here we have a cooperative. It's not a franchise. It's a cooperative, and Foodstuffs is the wholesaler. So they supply the majority of the product into the stores, and the stores pay for that. And so therefore, the store owners, of course, do get a dividend, because it's a cooperative. So they make money from their stores, and they also make money from the profit that Foodstuffs makes. Now, in this instance, what is going to happen here? Now, let's think about Foodstuffs. Foodstuffs is like a club, because all the owner-operators, they're all mates, they've known each other a long time. And if I was in that position and I was running Foodstuffs and I was the chairman of Foodstuffs, I'd be thinking to myself, well, what can we do as Foodstuffs to help our mates? Because we're going to have to sell off some of these stores, and what's going to happen to our mates? Well, what I suggest is one possible way around this. If I was Foodstuffs, I might consider setting up a totally separate cooperative, not owned by Foodstuffs, but possibly owned by the sort of owners that would be coming into line to be sold off. Now, it's already been suggested that the Commerce Commission will look hard at the stores and will not be fobbed off with stores that are not doing too well, and therefore they'll be glad to get rid of them. They'll be looking for key stores as well. So what could happen? Well, if a shell company is set up that is a cooperative ready, then when the decision is made as to which stores are going to be sold off, then the shell company could well come in as a cooperative and make a bid for those stores to take them off Foodstuffs and still retain the owner operators, and they'd be together in another cooperative. So that is something I think could well happen, because if I were Foodstuffs, I'd be looking at just doing that. If that doesn't happen, and if it goes out to a wider group of people, then obviously there are going to be some, I imagine, pack and saves as well, although Foodstuffs would hate that. And of course, New Worlds and some Four Squares that are going to go on the market for overseas bidders to jump in if there are no bidders in this country that are going to have the means to gobble them up. But it's a long time before we get there, because what's going to happen, first of all, well, a report will be made. Then both Foodstuffs and Woolworths New Zealand will be approached by the media, obviously, who will be asking them what their reactions are. And this is a report of the Commerce Commission, known as ComCom, as to what they are going to do. Now, where do we go from there? Is it going to go to the House of Representatives, and is there going to be discussions there, and are there going to be people who are going to vote against it and for it and so on? Well, we don't know at this stage, but the first stage of this is what the Commerce Commission has decided to do, and from there we will see what's going to happen. But I can suggest that both sides of the supermarket industry are not going to sit down and just let this happen. They are going to fight, because they're not going to want to lose parts of their organization, and therefore their profits in future are going to be much less. There's going to be more competition in the market. So it's going to be tougher, because the competition are going to be good people. They're going to come in from overseas, possibly from Australia, people like Coles, maybe Aldi this time, and it's going to be tough. They are not going to be doing as well as they've done so far. So they are going to fight, and it's going to be a legal fight, of course. This is the only way they're going to do it. So if I'm going to bet on anything, I can't see something happening until maybe the end of this year or even into next year before it's finally finalized. Well, we'll have to wait and see. So that's my predictions. I hope there will be lots of change for all our sakes. That's all for now. Catch you again soon.